Good morning, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Ukiah Sunday virtual service. I want to welcome my beloved community. Whether this is your first time or you've been coming for years and years, I'm just so happy that you're here and joining us today. I'm also going to know with you and for you that something in this service will touch your heart and be the exact thing that you came here to hear, you'll hear and take it forward. Today's topic is finding happiness. I want to start with a quote from Marianne Williamson, and she says, "Joy and happiness are what happens to us when we allow ourselves to recognize how good things really are." I really love the quote, but I also hear and feel the challenge in it. Because in a perfect world, we would experience happiness all the time and we'd be joyful. But what about right now? Right now, this is hard and it doesn't feel perfect. So, the idea of recognizing how good things really are in the midst of everything that's gone on this year could be a little bit of a challenge. So, in the meantime, while we are having a challenging, problematic time in our lives, sad, serious, all of those other things, here's an idea. How about we begin to engage in really identifying the happiness and the joy in our lives? So, to start with, you might ask yourself the question, does what I'm doing, what I'm about to do, what I'm about to engage in, will this thing invoke a sense of joy and happiness within me? If the answer is yes, go ahead. If it's not, then maybe you need to redefine what it is that you're about to do. Doesn't necessarily mean you won't do it, but you might have to reprogram it a little bit in your head just so you know that it's of value and feels good and therefore creates a sense of happiness. Another question you can ask yourself anytime during any day is this: how happy am I right now? Do I even know? Most of us know what makes other people happy. We know that what makes our coworkers happy, or maybe our partners, our children, our friends. But when it comes to an awareness about our own happiness, the little specific things that bring a smile to our face and contentment to our hearts, we often come up short, spending more time in worry and doubt. Worry and doubt are pretty dangerous because happiness is something you can only have in the present moment. You will feel it in your present moment. Worry and doubt are usually, I'm worried about something that might happen, or I doubt that something could happen, or even about the past. I am in worry about what has happened and I doubt that anything can improve. Those kind of thoughts tend to be a little overwhelming, and again, particularly in times such as these. So, what do we do? I came across, I have these folders that have tons of articles and references of things, and it even says on the folder, things you might need later. And I pulled this article out, and it was an article about a woman, an English woman, who in 1926, this woman, her name is Joanna Field, began to feel that she was not living a good life. not a bad life, but that she wasn't living a truly authentic life. That she did not know what would make her happy, or at least what would make her truly happy. To remedy this, she decided to keep a journal in order to discover what specifically triggered the feeling of delight, happiness in her daily life. The journal is called A Life of One's Own. It was published in 1934. I couldn't find it anywhere. It's probably out of print. But after it was written and published, she confided that it felt a little bit like she was writing it in the spirit of being a spiritual detective who is searching through the small and the mundane of her daily life in hopes of finding clues of what was missing in her life. And I think that's a great thing, because often it is just these small things that enliven us, that lift us up. Laughter of a child, things like, just a smell of baking bread, things like that. And so to start to journal that and go, this made me happy, this lifted my heart. I think that's very powerful. The question then comes up, what is missing in my life, in your life? And I think that what is missing in our days is a true sense that we are enjoying the lives that we are living. It is difficult to experience moments of happiness if you're not aware of what it is that you may genuinely love. We must learn to savor. I love that word. We must learn to savor the small, authentic moments that bring us contentment, peace, joy. So, again, small things that happen all the time. So, here's some ideas that I came up with in the last week of things that I might do. One of, I can't remember, one of the suggestions I read was to take a favorite recipe and do something small, but create something even greater from your favorite recipe. Now, I don't do a lot of cooking and I always follow the recipe, but I have this new cook in my life, or TV chef that I just adore, and his name is Jamie Oliver. And if you haven't heard of him, you should check him out. But he does a show that's called 5 Ingredients or something like that, 5 ingredient menu. And I love kind of finding my Jamie Oliver, and now I have a book, and creating these new recipes, and then having the people that I serve them to be really happy with it too. And it just feels really great. So there's an idea. Find a new recipe, but do something that maybe you already do that is mundane and has become just sort of rote, and create something a little bit bigger. Another one was, as you guys know, I buy flowers pretty much every week and create a bouquet that I get to enjoy for myself at home, but also have here at church. Well, right now, I have these beautiful poinsettias for the holidays, and I do love them. But I kind of missed having the fresh flowers. But instead of going ahead and buying them the other day when I was in the store, I just went over to the floral department and I just looked at all the flowers in this vast abundance of roses right now. And I smelled them and I just appreciated their color, their beauty, and it just lifted my heart. Another one of my favorites is to get a hot drink, sip a cup of tea, sip a cup of coffee while just sitting and enjoying something. And yesterday I wrapped myself up in a blanket and went out on my front porch with my coffee and watched it rain. And there was such a sense of contentment. One of the things I also really love to do is just take 5 minutes and pet my purring cat or my sleeping dog. All of these are just simple pleasures that are waiting to be enjoyed. The big deal is to not overlook them, to not overlook those simple pleasures, but instead to become incredibly conscious of them. To when you go in the grocery store, go ahead, take a deep breath. Smell the bread baking, smell the chicken cooking, smell the flowers, and just feels good. Feel that abundance. It feels good. Pet that purring cat, and just relax and feel the contentment for both of you. But the deal here is to become conscious that these things are, in fact, making me happy and lifting my spirit. Joanna Field discovered in her journal that there were several things that delighted her. Her list included red shoes, good food, sudden bursts of laughter, reading in French, answering letters, people watching at the fair. And I remember when I read that, I thought, oh, what would she take of a mall? She'd probably love it. But my very favorite thing that she had on her list was this: a new idea when it is grasped. I love that. Dr. Holmes says in the textbook, it should be considered right to live and enjoy life. It should be considered right to live and enjoy life. So if that's right, then let us set our intention to be more happy and to enjoy life. Instead, what happens, we often get lost in the activities that put off happiness until we, I don't know, graduate from college, when the kids move out, when I find my perfect partner, when I find a better job, when I get a new car. The list can be endless. So it's important that even though those things on our list may be things that we want to do, they're not necessarily making us happy. So to be sure to include in your life things that will make you happy every day is really important. I think the reason that we kind of get caught up in, the goal oriented things is that in our culture, at least here in the United States, that there's old beliefs that there's virtue in struggle and suffering. And it's time to awaken to the fact that the things that we normally struggle and suffer around are results of what we call secondary causation. We know that God is first cause, and God only creates beauty, love, peace, power, joy. Secondary causation comes when something has gone awry, and then we turn and decide that that's the problem. You know, my foot is sore because my shoes are too tight. That's actually secondary causation. Um, and so to move from a place of allowing those things to dictate to your life, moving back to that original cause that God is all there is and that God is joy in this very moment, and then saying, so what am I waiting for? I am joyful as I am right here, right now. I want to share this little story I also found this week, and it came with a picture of a school hallway that was filled with hundreds of green balloons. But the story is basically there was a professor, and he gave a balloon to every student he had, which I think was about a couple of hundred, not 1,000 or anything. And he had them blow up the balloons and write their names and then throw the balloon into the hallway. The professor then went out in the hallway and just kind of walked up and down a couple of times, which of course mixed up all the balloons. Then he set a timer and instructed the students that they would have 5 minutes to find their own balloon. And then he would blow a whistle when the 5 minutes was up. And that whatever balloon they were holding, they had to drop. And if it wasn't theirs, So he blew the whistle. They all went out. They started looking for the one with their name on it. And it was incredibly hectic and a lot of shouting, but no one found their own balloon. So after he got them, quieted down, he said, okay, there's a second part to this. And so he told the students to go and pick up a balloon, look at it, see whose name was on it, and give it to them. So he again gave them 5 minutes, and because these people all knew each other fairly well, it took way less than 5 minutes, and everybody had their own balloon. The professor said to the students, these balloons are like happiness. We will never find it if everyone is looking for their own. But if we care about other people's happiness, we'll find our own. I think that's a really important thing to think about, because I know that some of my happiest moments are when I'm able to provide a service or something, gifts for my grandchildren, and just watch that joy. That makes me happy. It makes me joyful. I read somewhere this week also that joy comes when we deepen our connection to God. Happiness comes when we deepen our connection to each other. So both are important. And as we deepen both of these connections, we feel better. The way to deepen those connections are treatment, meditation, contemplation. But I think probably the most one, the bottom line one for me, is intention. It is through intention that I make the decision to be happy and to do my best to make others happy. Abraham Lincoln said, folks are usually about as happy as they make their minds up to be. So make up your mind, be happy. I have one more analogy, which is something called vacation consciousness. So when we're making up our minds to go on vacation, you all remember vacations, right? To go on vacation, we definitely set an intention of what it is that we want. And it almost always includes not just seeing everything, but to learn things, feel uplifted, feel rested, feel joy, just be happy. There is a definite intention to awaken happiness when we go on vacation in every activity. So I guess we also set our intention every day, just like we could for a vacation. So what about going to work? What's your intention? What about your intention about that difficult relationship or situation, that difficult person? What's your intention around communicating with them? What is your intention around the state of the world? If we set our intention to reveal happiness, how different could the world look? It is our natural state of being to rest in joy, to spread happiness. So join with me in doing just that. So take a deep breath. And as you release that breath, if you're comfortable, just allow your eyes to gently close. And join with me in this treatment. So right here and right now, I know that there is only one thing, and that thing is God. That thing is showing up within me and with everyone who is hearing this treatment. Everyone who is not hearing this treatment. What I am saying is true for me, for you, for the planet. For we are all in the one. And that one is love, life, peace, power, beauty, joy. This is who we truly are. We are this in a timeless, boundless way. So right now we engage in the idea of the harmony that resides within and without. And through that harmony, that presence of love, great happiness, great joy begins to show. We feel it at the depth of our being. And even in those times where we may feel grief, where we may feel overwhelmed, we may feel that silence of inability to speak a true word. What I know is that these are cries for help. And right now there is a collective cry for help. I am ready to realize that each and every one of us are truly united in love, that we are truly vehicles of joy, of happiness, that nothing can separate us from our source. So therefore, this truth is the truth without question. And so I no longer hold on to ideas that things or people need to be fixed, need to be healed. For I know that God, the divine, is not broken, and that all things work together for good, for joy. So I begin to relax and invite all of you to also relax in the idea of joy and happiness being revealed in this moment and the next as we set an intention to be who we truly are, a God being, a God revealer. And as I release this word into the mind of God, I know that it is accepted by a law that always says yes. And therefore these ideas are true and beautiful. And I give great thanks for that. And I let it be so. And so it is. So take another deep breath and gently open your eyes. And we're moving from the message to the law of circulation, excuse me, which means we are about to do our collection affirmation. And I just want to remind you quickly that there are a couple of ways that you can help support the center financially. One is just write a check and send it to the center. The next is my personal favorite is I have the center as a payee on my bill pay through home banking. So I just go on there and send a check. And the third is PayPal. The center does have a PayPal button on our website, which is cslukiah.org. And there's several buttons there, but one of them is PayPal, and that's a pretty easy way to pay. And so knowing ahead that you are all here to support and love this center through this time and all time, I want to thank you for contributing and being a part of what makes us all happen. So I'll be saying, and you can just know these words of truth as I state our offering affirmation together. And it goes like this. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies this gift. With all my heart and with all my mind, I know that I am saying yes to something I value. With all others present here, we dedicate these gifts to the values and vision we share. So now I do have a few announcements that I want to share with all of you. The first one is mark your calendar and plan ahead. on Tuesday, December 22nd at 6:30, the Inland Valley Women's Chorus will be leading their traditional, or their annual, I should say, uh, celebration of solstice, Christmas, other winter holidays, and it's singing with the community. And when we do this live and we all gather together, it's amazing. But this year is going to be a Zoom. So that Zoom link is in the newsletter. So if you haven't received a newsletter, let me know and I'll make sure that you're on the list. And we'll be able to sing along, and it will just be so much fun and so fabulous. If you guys know Madge, and she always does a super job. So we're really looking forward to that. And then 2 days later, next announcement, mark your calendar for December 24th, which is a Thursday. At 6:30, we'll be having our candlelight service. And I'm looking forward to this. The topic is going to be something around a metaphysical nativity, where there'll be a telling of the nativity story and then breaking it down and talking about the gifts of that are metaphysically a part of our hearts. And it's just, it'll be beautiful. I also want you to know that Calvin Johnson will be joining us, and there's going to be tons of carols. So if you like carols, he will be doing the singing. We'll all be muted, but you're totally invited to sing along. You and Calvin, it'll be wonderful. I'm just really looking forward to this, and I hope that you'll all join us. The link is going to be different than the link we have for Sunday. So I will be posting that at the newsletter and on the Facebook page for the center this week. So keep your eyes open, and I'll remind you again next week. Next, I also want to remind you that we are in the middle of our 2021 Intentional Giving Program. So I've been attaching, I think I forgot this week, but I've been attaching the 2020 Intentional Giving form to the newsletter. I'll make sure it's there next week. But this is more important than ever. This is what helps the board to see what we can expect as far as income for the next year, and then plan accordingly. In order for us to continue as a center, your financial support is really important. So please take some time and get that form, fill it out, return it to the church. Thank you so much. And you can return it either by email or you can pop it in regular mail. One last thing, this is one more way that you can help our center. And though I know I went out and I bought almost everything, I bought everything I could locally, but I still needed some things that I couldn't get here. So I turned to Amazon. If you use Amazon, there is a link. It also is in the newsletter. And if you click on that link, part of what you buy, and it's still just a basic login for you, it's just, it's on Amazon Smile. And once you are in and you do your shopping, a percentage of your purchase goes to the center. And because this is Christmas, and a lot of us are shopping online, this could be really substantial. So please take some time, and it's really only that one extra step is going to the Amazon Smile link as opposed to the regular Amazon.com. So, okay, I think that's all for today. And I just want all of you to know that I love you and that I look forward to seeing you next week. Namaste.